Hello everybody, welcome to Talk About House. I'm Todd.
I'm Oana.
Okay, we have a pretty fun video today. We have all this data and charts and stuff on home ownership by age, home ownership by state, by city, where the most people own homes, where the least people own homes, where the most people rent. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through it and explain why. We're going to explain the economics behind it.
Right. The thing that we want you to keep in mind is that real estate is hyperlocal. So while we may even name your city, and you may think, well, that doesn't apply to me, and you may very well be right because it is hyperlocal. I went ahead and I pulled here locally in Clark County, I pulled Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and Henderson. So we're all together, and our numbers were considerably different. So it may be different for you too. So it'll be interesting to go and watch the video and see where you stack up.
A special deal today. If you like the video and share it and subscribe to the channel, you have to do all three of those. You get a free membership and you get to watch all our videos for free for the rest of the time that we put them out. It's a special deal. It's only today. So you got to do all three of those. All right. Okay, here's the first part of the article. This is the first bit of information in it. The United States homeownership rate represents the percentage of occupied housing units where the resident is also the owner. A constantly evolving figure, the United States homeownership rate currently rests at 65.2%, while renter-occupied housing units make up 34.8% of the national stock wanted. This does not mean 65.2% of all people in the U.S. are homeowners. We have 360 million people in the U.S. We only have 140 million housing, so you would think it's closer to maybe a third, but it's not. Why is that? Where does the 65.2% come from? 65.2% of what?
You know, I like that point too.
You like that point too?
I do.
Yeah.
So
I think the point two are the houses we own.
There you go.
Yeah, there are houses.
See, point one, point two, never. Okay. So what they're looking at is they're looking at home ownership. They're looking at all the houses that are all the homes. I don't think it's just single family homes. I think is it just single family homes?
Single family homes.
It's just single family homes. So they're looking at that and they're saying, hey, for every 100 single family homes, how many are owner occupied and how many are not. So that's kind of how they're looking at it.
So if you own 5 houses, let's say, for example, and you live in one and rent 4, you don't get credit for owning 5. It's not like that they took the homes and said, oh, well, because literally 98% of the housing market is owned by people. Right. And a small amount are owned by these corporations.
Right. The other thing to keep in mind is, for example, vacation homes, right? So maybe somebody has a home at Tahoe that they like to go visit in the summertime and get away from the summer heat in Las Vegas, and they go in the wintertime and they go skiing. So they don't rent it out. This is their vacation home. It's their second home. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be considered an owner-occupied. It's not going to be considered a rental either.
Yeah. Okay. So Oana, just guessing, would you guess historically that 65% is on the high end, on the low end? Where are we historically with 65% of single-family homes being occupied by the owner?
So I think we're on the high end. I think we topped out somewhere around 68, 69%. That was like the most that we ever had. Okay. So I think 65% is actually a good number. I know that people say that, well, it's not high enough. I think it's really pretty reasonable when you consider that. That 35% that are not owner occupied, well, who are these people, right? So let's kind of talk about that for a minute. So they're people that are maybe relocating, so they're in between homes. They're people who maybe they're young and they're moving around a lot, so they're not ready to buy a home. Maybe they're older and they've sold that big house, and maybe they've downsized into something more manageable. They don't want to deal with maintenance or anything like that, so maybe that's why they're in a rental. So there are lots of reasons why people are in a rental. It's not just affordability. It's a whole host of reasons, and it doesn't mean that these people could not own a home. Some of them are simply choosing not to own a home for a variety of reasons.
Okay, so the answer to the question is 65%. It's right in the middle historically. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's a chart that goes back to the 1965. Okay. I'm guessing this is when they started collecting this data. And back then it was 63%. Mm-hmm. of all homes occupied by the owner. The peak was right before the housing crash. It got to 69%. Now, what's interesting about this chart, and I want to point this out, that you can manipulate a chart or show it in a way that makes it look worse. But remember, the range on this chart is 62 to 70. It's a very narrow band. And if you put this chart out from 0 to 100, instead of looking like this big up and down, it would look pretty smooth. It would look, and it would, remember, it wouldn't move more than 63 to 6%. So we're really right in the middle of where we are historically for home ownership.
So over 60 years, the whole range is 6%. That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah. So this is pretty, I thought this was interesting. Mm-hmm. You know, what it says is there's a core group of people who enjoy owning a home. Maybe they've owned it for a long time. And, Warren Buffett, he bought his house in like 57, didn't he? 1957. Right. He's lived in the same house since 1957. And of course, a lot of people haven't, they haven't been alive that long. But it's just interesting that this home ownership is stayed in a relatively narrow band. In Croatia, do you remember what the home ownership rate in Croatia?
I don't remember, but I remember that homes were really old. We stayed in an Airbnb that was like 500 years old.
We did a video on it. It blew up. Remember, it blew up. We were Croatia famous. You could just search, if you go on our channel, put Croatia, you'll find the video. It's really cool. So it's over 90%. Mm-hmm. Croatia has one of the highest home ownership percentages in the world. Now, what happened was the communists left. Mm-hmm. Basically, what they did is they gifted the house. Government gifted the houses to the people that were living in them. Mm-hmm. So if you were living in a house, the government said, you know what? It's your house now. Whatever house you're in, it's yours. And people, they don't make a lot of money there. So people kind of were stuck in the house like, oh, it's ours. But people aren't moving around a lot. Mm-hmm. The other thing, too, is Croatia, the families all live close to by, so there's no need to move. It's like the U.S. where, I got a new job, I'm going here. Their economy's not really like that. So anyway. Okay, now we're going to talk about is by state, the highest and lowest owner and renter occupied by state. So I am going to go, really quick, just guessing, which states do you think in general would have the lowest percentage of owner occupied?
So, if you think about what makes it easier to own a home is maybe things like employment, maybe low property taxes, maybe low or no state income tax. So things like that you would think would be helpful. So if you use that logic, maybe someplace like Nevada, right? We have no state income tax, we have low property taxes, we have lots of jobs. So maybe a state like Nevada.
The lowest.
For on the high end. So the lowest would be states like California and New York, maybe because they have their homes are expensive, they have high property taxes, they have high income taxes, so those would be logically the lowest.
Here we go. Now, Washington, D.C., not a state. They do not have senators. They're actually the highest, 41%. Now, remember, we talked about this 62 to 69%. That's for the aggregate U.S.
Right. So 41% are homeowners is what you're saying in Washington?
They have the lowest. 59% of people in D.C. are renters. It's the only location in the U.S. where more than half of
Okay, but in all
homes
fairness, Washington, D.C. is tiny.
Sure.
So not a lot of land. The guy in the White House, he's renting it because he doesn't own it.
He doesn't own it. And you have a lot of people coming in and out because a lot of the properties that are there are owned by investors because, remember, every 4 years we get a new administration, they throw people out, new people come in, so there's constantly people rotating in and out of there. It's highly transient.
Exactly.
Of course, New York and California, that's a cost issue.
Right.
Okay. Nevada, now this is a surprising one. Let's look at these. Massachusetts, that's expensive. Texas, possibly because it's transient a little bit. People moving in and out.
Well, and the other thing
or
is
around Texas.
Texas also has high property taxes.
They do 3x. So if you have $1 million house, you pay $30,000 a year in property taxes in Texas. Hawaii, super expensive. Oregon is relatively expensive if you're like in Portland, or that Portland's expensive. And Washington is everything that's along the Puget Sound is super expensive there. New Jersey. And the same thing. Okay, so I thought this was interesting. I think Nevada is One of the reasons why is because there's so few homes available for purchase, and that there's all these homes that you could buy for 80, 90,000 15 years ago. And we happen to know, because we work with two different sets of investors that each came in about 50 houses. And so we helped them with that. And then, as far as I know, they probably still own the houses. So, there's just a lot of people that these homes are always going to be rentals. So when you first move here, most people tend to rent first, and then they figure it out and buy. Okay, let's go with the states with the highest number of owner occupied. So surprisingly, it's exactly what you said it was. Low property taxes and maybe, more of a stable economy where people live longer. They don't move in and out, right?
Sure.
So West Virginia, it's very inexpensive there. Home prices are probably super inexpensive there. So about 3/4 of all people own the house in West Virginia. Delaware too. You don't have a lot of people moving in and out of Delaware, right? Most people don't know where Delaware is. So when you get there, you can't really go anywhere because you don't know where to go. It's pretty close. It's right against there by Maryland. And okay, Maine. Even though Maine has a large area of vacationers on the coast, Maine is pretty stable. Vermont, right? So the three of these are roughly in the northeast part of the U.S. Michigan, Wyoming, Idaho, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Iowa, South Carolina, Utah, New Mexico. These are all the states you would think have a high percentage. Alabama, Mississippi, because it's relatively inexpensive. Right, so these are all over 70%.
Right. So, but all these states are very stable, right? They don't have a lot of migration. They don't have a lot of people leaving. So because they're so stable, people put down roots, and that's why you're seeing homeownership rates higher than in other states.
Okay, here is the chart of homeownership by state. This is not who is going to win the election. Okay, this is not the Harris states or the Trump states and the RFK states. Okay, this would be a mess if this was an election chart, because this would be like the House of Representatives would have to vote to pick the president, because this looks like nobody even got 100 votes here. Okay, so the lighter the color, the lower percentage, and then the darker, the higher percentage. So you can see the states like West Virginia, Maine, Utah. And you can see Nevada is sort of a lighter state too, is a state. Now, remember, Nevada also includes Reno. Remember that if you look at Nevada, Las Vegas, we're at the tip down there at the bottom. We're basically Eastern California to some extent. And so.
What's interesting is when they were putting these together, I was looking up different cities, and I think that there's like a threshold for the number of residents or something like that, because I was looking up different places in Nevada specifically. So I looked up Reno, and they had Reno, but then I looked up Sparks, didn't exist.
No.
I looked up Lake Tahoe, didn't exist.
No, yeah, it was a threshold. What's interesting is, this is a history lesson. When you look at Nevada, when Nevada became a state, where we are, Clark County, this whole area, wasn't part of Nevada. We were part of the Arizona territory.
Yes.
Arizona gifted Nevada this part of the territory after it became a state. There was nothing down here. That's why it wasn't part of the state. There wasn't even a city here till 1905. Remember, we became a state in 1864. So, for 40 years, this was just Arizona territory. And then they said, make it Nevada. We don't want it. It's too hot, and there's nothing there but some desert tortoises. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. Okay. These are the cities with the lowest owner occupants. What do they all have in common? Well, I'm going to go through them here. Okay, these are all under 40%. These are pretty low. Newark, Jersey City, Miami, New York City, Boston, Los Angeles, Irving, which is outside of Dallas, San Francisco. What do all those have in common?
So they have a couple things in common. First of all, there's a lot of there are a lot of people coming and going, right? There's a lot of migration. The other thing is, I think that they're relatively young cities. And what I mean by that is their population. So that really impacts that, because when you have a younger population, they are still kind of checking the world out a little bit, and they haven't settled down yet. So it makes sense that they would rent, because they're just exploring. So they're still in that stage of their lives. So they're not ready to put down roots. So I think that's part of it.
Yep.
The other part is, These are places, some of these places are really expensive, like, for example, Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, they're very expensive. Actually, Irving, Texas is kind of expensive too. Miami, again, depending on where you are in Miami, that's pretty expensive too. So that's part of it. But I think by and large, the number one reason for the high rental rate is that population that is moving in to, maybe they've got new jobs, they're just kind of checking it out, they haven't settled down yet.
Okay. These are the cities with the highest owner occupancy rates. Port St. Lucie, Florida, 84.6%. That's probably a retirement community.
Bingo.
Gilbert, Arizona, snowbirds and retirees.
Yes.
Chesapeake, Virginia, who knows? But I think Chesapeake is near Patuxent Naval Air Station. That might have something to do with it. Scottsdale, Arizona, retirees. Boise, Idaho, retirees. Henderson, Nevada, retirees. Mesa, Arizona, retirees. North Las Vegas, retirees.
Well, North Las Vegas has a couple things going.
Yeah.
They do have retirees. You're right. The other thing that they have is the Nellis Air Force Station, and so there are a lot of people there that do end up purchasing because maybe they're going to be here for 5 years, and it makes sense. They have a generous allotment for housing.
Ton of money
through their benefits from the Air Force, so that makes sense for them. North Las Vegas has a lot of new homes, so people like new homes, and so they tend to want to buy them. So there are a lot of reasons going on in North Las Vegas. North Las Vegas also happens to be kind of a very family-centric, kind of like Henderson is, very family-centric. So when people settle down and they've got kids, they tend to want to own their homes. Okay,
homeownership rate by age of household. So you see that yellow, that's the United States, that's the whole country. This compares everybody. If you're under 44, you're in those first two blue columns, you're under the average. And if you're 45 or older, you are over the average. And of course, the older you are, the more likely you are to own your home, but not substantially more. Meaning, if you're 35, you have a 62% chance. But if you're 100, you only have a 79% chance. So it's not like it's substantially larger. I thought this was interesting too. This is not strictly by generation, because you see 55 to 64 is both Gen, and you're not in that group. This is both Gen Xers and the boomers. There's some younger boomers, older Gen Xers in here. So they just kind of picked some ages and threw numbers here. I thought this was pretty interesting.
Well, the other thing is that first blue column, those are people that either are still living at home, or they're still maybe getting their education. They're still kind of trying to figure it out. So there's a reason why that group has that percentage of home ownership. They're just not ready for home ownership yet. And it's not just affordability, is what I'm trying to say.
And we have 4 of them at an age.
We do, and none of them are homeowners, and all of them are living with a parent somewhere.
If you're interested in adopting a software engineer, a truck driver, somebody of that nature, in their late 20s, early 30s, we're having a sale this week.
Buy one, get 3 free?
Buy one, yes. You can get the other 3. We'll just throw them in if you'll just take one of them. You can have them all. Okay, let's go with the states. Now, this is interesting. This isn't about homeownership. This is about net migration. Mm-hmm. Oana, which state do you think has the highest net migration? Just guessing, because Oana hadn't seen these, so she doesn't know.
I'm going to pick Nevada.
No, this would be people leaving.
Oh, people leaving. No.
Yeah.
No, we don't have people leaving.
Minus people leaving.
Minus people leaving.
Total numbers of people, not percentage.
California.
Okay, what state would you think is number 2?
I'm going to pick on New York.
Oh, good, it is. What about number 3? Let's see how far you can go.
Oh, okay. Number 3, Illinois.
Oh my God, number 4. That was number 3.
Really? Was it?
Yeah. Chicago, people hate it there.
Okay.
It's cold, and they come to Nevada and Arizona and Texas and Florida.
Okay, I'm playing Megabucks now.
What's number 4?
Number 4. New Jersey.
Yes. Number 5. It is number 5. Honestly, guys, she's getting these. She can't see them. Trust me, she can't see anything.
She can't.
What's number 5? You probably missed this one.
Washington State?
No, it's actually way down the list. So Maryland, Massachusetts, Louisiana, Oregon, Utah, they're all losing people. Okay. Ready for this? These are the most numbers of states where the people are going to by numbers, total numbers.
Okay.
Not percentage, numbers. Okay. What state do you think the most people are going to?
Well, people just they like the girls and the weather in California.
No, they have the most people leaving.
Oh, okay.
So they have they can't be the high, they can't be both. They have the most people leaving. So where are the most people going to?
Nevada.
No.
I'm just picking Nevada because I like Nevada.
Nevada is actually not even in the top.
Okay.
Actually, this is incorrect because Nevada, we get about, what's so weird about this? Why aren't we listed here? We're getting 60 to 70,000 people a year. So this is interesting that we're not showing up on this chart. It shows Florida number 1, 249,000. Texas, 174.
I was on the right track. The weather.
These are Sunbelt. Florida, Texas, North Carolina, Arizona, Georgia, South Carolina, forget Connecticut, Tennessee, Alabama's Sunbelt, Oklahoma's not really Sunbelt. And Nevada's down here. It says Nevada's getting 13,275, but we know that's incorrect. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of weird. Okay, here's a fun one. New construction deliveries in the U.S. Okay, now, what's interesting about this is if you look all the way over the left, that chart, 2000, 2006, that is closer to the normal historic, if you go back to the 50s, how many houses we were building in the U.S. What you can see is if you look from 2007 on, we have continuously underbuilt, and we still haven't gotten to back to where even the long term. So basically by underbuilding, Oana, for the last 15 years, what does that cause? What's that created?
A shortage.
A shortage. So when we say there's a housing shortage, we don't mean numbers of homes in the MLS. What do we mean?
We mean numbers of homes available for people to purchase.
Yeah, it's all homes. Mm-hmm. And remember, we add those people through, how do we make more people? Where do people come from? Is there a factory that makes them?
There is.
Okay, there's a factory. There's many of them. We have millions of, 180 million factories.
Yeah, 54% of our population is a factory for that.
Okay, and so like I read that last year was like 4 million births.
Right. So we get more people through births. We get more people through immigration. We certainly get more people through immigration than we do through births.
And ready for this, guys? Like 100,000 baby boomers died last year.
Right.
And oh my God, they're like, or it's 200,000, but we made 4 million babies. So the boomers dying is not going to cause the population to go down. We're actually growing by about 2 to 3 million net per year in the U.S. We're expected to go between 2050 and 2060 to 400 million in the country. Mm-hmm. So this is the thing is we're massively underbuilt for homes. And remember, Oana, homes you don't build it and then it's a home forever. These things can be destroyed.
Right. So you have a couple things. You have homes that are destroyed through some sort of a disaster, right? Whether it be a fire, a flood, a tornado, whatever. Then you have homes that are just obsolete, right? So they just get torn down. So that happens too. So there are a number of reasons why homes are destroyed or in some way no longer viable or suitable for habitation.
Yeah. Anyway, that was it. That was all the charts. I thought it was pretty fun. Some demographic information, kind of give you a big picture of what's going on.
Okay, cool beans.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're thinking of buying or selling a home, please go ahead and contact us, and Todd or I will help you out, or we'll connect you with somebody who will. If you like the video, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, share the video. If you didn't like the video, we're sorry. Stick around. We hope to put one out that you do like.
Yeah, remember, but you have to subscribe so you can see the videos.
So you can keep giving us feedback. Yeah. So leave us your real estate related comments down below. We appreciate them. Give us some subjects that maybe you'd like us to cover. We are definitely very interested in charts and all kinds of economic things, but we are willing to entertain something that might interest you. So we appreciate that. If you see us out and about, please say hello. We appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.